Should you buy a frame and build it up with your choice of parts, or just buy a complete bike from a bike shop? Well, I've asked MBUK magazine's editor James Costley-White to do just that, building the custom bike of his dreams with a £4,000 budget. We're going to pit it against my shop-bought Marin Rift Zone, which retails for £3,775. We're going to test them back to back and compare the specs and ride them to work out which one is the winner. Let's have a look at both of these bikes. So at JCW, this is your custom build, and this is the Challenger. This is a Marin Rift Zone XR. It comes in at £3,775 right off the shop floor, which is slightly cheaper than JCW's custom build, but look how much you get for the money. It's a Marin Rift Zone frame with 130mm of travel. It's got a faux bar linkage, RockShox Lyric Select Plus fork with 150 on the front, Marin badge rims with Formula hubs, Maxxis tyres, SRAM drivetrain and SRAM brakes. The Rift Zone XR weighs 15 kilos on the nose, which is slightly lighter than yours, I think.
It is, so the Raaw is coming in at 15.5 kilos, again pretty much on the nose. But I do think when it comes to the overall spec, it does have the Marin beat.
Why don't you take us through the spec of your build, but first, why did you choose to custom build a bike rather than just buy one complete?
Well, so back in the day, as I'm sure you'll remember, Will, those of us who are a bit longer in the tooth, it wasn't necessarily that common to buy a complete bike from the shop because they would come with rubbish tyres, a long stem, narrow bars. It was much more common to buy a frame and inspect the bits you wanted on it. But then obviously along came direct sale brands like Canyon and YT, prices fell, and then the mainstream brands started to cotton on, started speccing better parts, and suddenly it wasn't such, well, it didn't make such good financial sense necessarily to self-build anymore, outside of maybe downhill racing. But I started thinking, you know, what with Brexit and what with the turmoil in the bike industry following the pandemic, prices have soared recently. So I was wondering, you know, is it still cheaper to buy a complete bike, or could the self-build make a comeback? Once I had a budget set, which I basically did by benchmarking the cost of other trail bikes from mainstream brands, it was time to pick a frame first, really. So my criteria were I wanted it to have kind of trail bike amount of travel, so between 130 and 150mm. I wanted alloy, partly to hit the budget. I wanted external cable routing because testing parts, it makes life so much easier. It's a bike we haven't tested in MBUK before, so I was quite interested in it.
And we were saying it's quite an engineer's bike or a rider's bike in a sense of it's got a lot of things on it that make it user-friendly.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you've got these really neat cable bosses here. You've got a tool mount on the top tube. You can stick a bottle mount on there. You've got massive great main bearing down there. You know, we were joking, you could almost use it as frame storage and stick a gel in there or something. You've got replaceable dropouts and brake mounts to set it up how you like, really. Also, it's the first bike I've had with a short enough seat tube and extra large to be able to fit a full-length one-up dropper.
So you said it's 220mm down from 240, so that really is massive.
That's right, yeah, it's one of the biggest in the market. I've had it in my garage for a couple of years now because I haven't had a bike I can use it on, so it's really nice to be able to stick it on here. The suspension probably comes next. So the Fox shock came with the frame, as did the headset and the seat clamp and the rear axle. Fork-wise, I was looking at a few options. Obviously Fox and RockShox are the obvious choices, but for both of them, their top-end forks are quite expensive, and some of the cheaper forks you can't buy as a consumer. They're available on complete bikes only, what you call OEM. I ended up settling on Manitou, partly because I know other members of the MBUK team have had good experiences with them. So it's a 34mm chassis, which is on the slim side for trail riding, but Manitou say because of the reverse arch design and a few other features, it is as stiff as a 35 or 36mm fork from other brands.
I guess on the theme of suspension, what shock have you gone for on the back?
So we've gone for a Fox Flow-Tex on the back. As I say, Raaw shipped the frame with the shock. They do offer various different shock options. It's the factory model, but Raaw kind of advised that for my budget and my riding, that would be the best option. Brakes-wise, I mean, you look at budget bikes, they all seem to come with either SRAM DB8s like your Marin or with Shimano, I think it's M520s, which are perfectly good. But I thought for a custom build, let's go something a bit different. So we've got Maguiras. They're a great value set, the MT5s, so you get full set of brakes, both ends with rotors and everything for, I think it was $250. real price will flash up on the screen, I'm sure. Hunt wheels, yeah, I think wheels are a really important part of a bike. So that is where manufacturers save money on complete bikes. So here we've got some nice Hunt wheels, which have always done well in our aftermarket tests. So these are the trail-wide V2s. Tyres are not somewhere you should compromise, but also they're something very expensive. They all come out between sort of 50 and 80 pounds an end. And I just thought for this build, that was gonna take too much budget away from elsewhere. So we've gone for specialised tyres, and these came in, I think, 70 or maybe 75 pounds for the pair. So we've got a Butcher up front, can't remember now, Eliminator out back, both in the grid trail casing and a T9. I think it's T9 compound up front and T7 at the rear, yeah, so slightly harder compound at the rear. Drivetrain, I guess, is the next thing to talk about. So basically, I mean, there are various aftermarket drivetrains available now, but not many complete ones. So it basically came down to SRAM or Shimano. So I've gone for Dior to keep costs down, but with SLX cranks, because they're only slightly more expensive and they're a lot lighter, and an XT shifter because you have the multi-shift functionality.
Okay, so you've actually gone for more expensive bits on the bits you perhaps wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
And then less expensive bits on the mech.
So it's a classic bike brand thing, isn't it, to spec an XT rear mech to make it look posher on the shop floor. But actually, a rear mech, you know, they are prone to damage from rocks. They don't necessarily make that much difference to the shifting feel. So personally, I'd rather have the extra functionality of that shifter and the 150 gram weight saving of the cranks.
Well, there we go. I think that's it, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, it's finishing kit, I guess. You know, we've got E13 base bar and stem, look good for the money, and we haven't tested them before. And DMR death grips are some of my favourite grips, and we've got a matching Van Deeken Oi saddle.
Hashtag oi oi.
Oi, yep.
Right, well, I guess the next thing to do is to take them out on the trail and see what they ride like.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. First ever climb on the Raaw. So as you'd expect, it's not got the sprightliest acceleration, but it does have a fair bit of heft. But saying that, not too sluggish either. The rear end seems to be soaking up the small stuff nicely without bobbing excessively, and that's without the climb lever on. And here we'll snap at my heels. I think that's more to the fitness than the bike though.
You set at a fierce pace.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't say sorry. Just impressed. It must climb all right.
Yeah, like it certainly doesn't feel like a cross-country bike, but it's not wallowy either.
And are you noticing the weight, or does it just seem light after your e-bike?
You notice the weight when accelerating, definitely. Once you're moving, it kind of disappears really, as you'd expect.
And what's the riding position feeling like when you're climbing?
Yeah, really good. The seat angle's nice and steep, and with the long chain stays, I'm nicely balanced between the wheels. Shifting's not super smooth, but it's certainly a decent range of gears. See how that long rear end handles the first tight corner. No problem.
Rift Zone feels very sprightly.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, it's nicely carrying speed. Feels very poppy and playful. The geometry is very similar to your bike, so that steep seat angle and the long front centre, for a large that is, really nice when you're climbing.
Yeah. This has got a good balance, definitely.
Well, you can just concentrate on turning the pedals. It doesn't seem to wander offline, doesn't want to loop out. You're in kind of a comfortable position. Yeah, it's good. Let's give the viewing public what they want. Some nice, close, good time trains.
Okay. God. I'm so out of shape.
Honestly, you flew up there.
Oh.
You didn't even go down to use his gear.
Dropping in.
Here he goes. New bike, how does it descend?
Oh.
Whoa. Nearly lost the front end then.
Right.
Oh.
First run on your new bike. What's your first impressions?
Yeah, really fun. It wasn't a drag on the climbs, but it was super fun on the downhill. Did a little jump, which is unusual for me.
Any tweaks you want to make to your cockpit setup or your suspension, or are you pretty happy?
Not really. I mean, the suspension, I've just set it up by the manufacturer's recommendations. I haven't properly fettled with it. So the fork is a little soft, I'd say, but that can all be fiddled with using the air pressure adjustment and the volume adjustment. But yeah, cockpit feels good. Frame shape feels spot on for me. I don't think we said it on camera, but this bike's got a much longer rear end than the Marin on the larger sizes.
Yeah, so yours is 450 and mine's 430,
Yeah.
which is quite a big difference when it comes to chainstay length.
Yeah, and you might think it would make it a bit more awkward to get around uphill switchbacks, but actually had no problem at all.
Okay.
And it was nice and stable on the descents.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued. Can we swap bikes? I'll have a go on yours.
I'm really reluctant, but yeah, I guess
You're in love with it
I
already?
guess I'll let you talk me into it, yeah.
All right then, let's swap.
Just don't scratch it.
Or get muddy.
Here we are, we're doing a climb now, having swapped bikes. I'm on the Marin, Will's on the Raaw. While we were swapping bikes, we just had a quick look at the geometry charts. Now, interestingly, the Raaw is an extra large, the Marins are large, but the geometry is very similar. Head and seat angles the same. The Raaw's reach is 10 mil longer as you'd expect, but then on the extra large Marin, the reach is a whopping 515 mil, which even for me at 6'2" is, well, for me personally, a bit long. The Raaw's got a 20 mil longer rear end, which is something I like, although Will prefers shorter chainstays for a sort of snappier feel and improved manualing. So yeah, on the way up the hill, I'd say the Marin feels similar. I think maybe a little bit peppier because it is that little bit lighter. I think maybe the rear end slightly less active. Good thing on smooth climbs, less good on more technical stuff. But obviously it's early days on both bikes. Could change once the suspension bed's in a bit more, once we tweak the settings. I'm noticing that with this bike's shorter top tube, I'm having to push my weight back on the saddle to get enough reach in my legs. Sorry, not my legs, my arms. To get my weight properly over the cranks. I'd say it does feel lighter, this one. Yeah, even though it's only a pound. Okay, getting near the top now. Oh my god.
You're flying again, you're in third there.
I'm hanging though.
Yeah. Trail bikes are so fun. Nice.
Oh,
How's mint fun?
had more fun than that though.
You had more fun on this one?
Yeah.
Okay, why do you think that was?
I like the brakes more. I like a bit of extra length for stability. Although the fork felt nice on this.
Yes. So I found kind of the same. I really like that Lyric Select Plus. It's got a really nice stable chassis. This one's got a bit more length to it. On paper it's only 10 mil, but when you ride it, it proper feels like an extra large.
Yeah.
The weight I didn't massively notice. I think this fork is a little bit soft. Yeah, other than that, they both felt brilliant.
Yeah.
That's more compact though.
This is more compact, yeah.
Yeah.
This is easier to kind of hop around, I guess.
Yeah. Right, let's go and grab a coffee and sum up. So in conclusion, to ride, both really well sorted. Geometry on paper is fairly similar weight, great fun.
Yeah, definitely. I think they both are what a trail bike should be. You know, they're great fun downhill, they're short going uphill. It's interesting how different they feel because they look quite similar looking suspension design, similar geometry charts, but actually the Raaw does feel a lot longer.
Yeah, it feels like an XL, whereas this feels like a large.
And I think we need to do a bit of digging to work out why that is. You know, is it because the fork's a bit softer? Is it the stack height? It's going to be interesting to find out.
This bike, 3775, that was just under 4 grand, so not a lot to choose between them. Spec-wise, not a lot to choose between them, and that was a big surprise. So I came into this thinking that the complete bike that you could buy from a shop was going to be miles better value than the bike you could put together from parts. And actually, they've come out almost exactly the same. We're having to really deep dive into the nerd wormhole of Spec to sort of prize them apart. And the key takeaway is, that's the bike that you want. You've chosen each part based on your criteria. You're not being given it by what a manufacturer thinks you should have.
Exactly, you know, I think if you want convenience and you want to just buy a bike that works, you don't need to spend hours trawling the internet and putting together spreadsheets, then the Marin is a great bike. If you want something a bit more special, then obviously a self-build allows you to select the kit you want at exactly the budget you set.
Right, well, thanks very much for joining us, JCW.
Thanks for having me, Will.
And yeah, class day out on the bike. If this has inspired you to do your own custom build, let us know in the comments and even let us know what you might put on that custom build.
And look out for a full feature on this bike in MBUK magazine, coming soon.
Do that. And in the meantime, don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel for more of the same.